protecting yourself against gold diggers. Hi, welcome to Male Decoded. Let's talk about gold diggers. So I do a lot of consultations these days with successful men. Some of them have never been married. Some of them are recently divorced, but they all tend to be men of means. And one of the recurring concerns that I hear from these men is, how do I know if the woman I'm dating only wants me for my money? Spoiler alert, women like rich men, though they often like to minimize the importance of his money so she doesn't feel like she owes him anything, which is straight out of a narcissist's playbook, by the way, devaluing as someone takes. In any case, women absolutely date up status hierarchies. So men at the top of these hierarchies, to some extent, do need to use their wealth and status and lifestyle to attract women. However, if they lean into that too heavily, then they'll increase the chances of attracting the wrong kind of women, namely gold diggers. That is, women who don't really care about the men in question, but who simply want to extract as many resources from them as possible. They ask me, how can I protect myself from these gold diggers? And on the surface, this seems like a legitimate concern, just like it might be a legitimate concern of women to defend themselves against fuckboys. That is, men who don't really care about the women in question, but who simply want to extract sex from them. Like it's the same concern, only gendered. Women are concerned that they're just being used for their bodies, and men are concerned that they're just being used for their resources. However, frankly, it's actually pretty easy to tell who's a gold digger and who's a fuckboy, which is why I said it's only a legitimate concern on the surface. These people are generally not super spies. They're not running some crazy, effective undercover sting operation. In the vast majority of cases, they are incredibly easy to spot because they tell on themselves all the time. So worrying about gold diggers is kind of like worrying about being run over by a very slow-moving train. It's only going to happen if you ignored all the whistles and flashing lights and lingered on the tracks for a very long time. And I'll tell you the telltale sign of a gold digger, the big flashing light at the end of this episode. First, let me briefly discuss how to date if you're a man of means. This is a problem, but let's be real, it's definitely a good problem to have. Wealth, status, and lifestyle are all generally attractive to women. That said, if you haven't yet mastered seduction and learned to stimulate a woman's emotions, you will likely heavily rely on these things as attraction proxies. As previously discussed, attraction proxies are things that men dangle in front of women in the hope or expectation that they will serve as shortcuts to sexual intimacies. It's just like fishing. The type of bait you use will largely determine the type of fish you catch. Lead with money, and you'll catch gold diggers. However, if you hide your money and status and lifestyle, unless you also happen to be very attractive, you will likely find yourself competing with the undifferentiated mass of men. And what's the point of that? So, you'll need to strike a balance here. The balance that we're looking for is similar to a successful job interview. Imagine you're being interviewed for a position at a new company. If you play it too cool, if you downplay your skills and talents and experience out of the misguided belief that doing so somehow makes you virtuous or humble, if in a nutshell, you walk out of the room without leaving the impression that you're the man for the job, then my friend, you're not going to get picked. And because you didn't show up in the right way, you ended up doing both you and the company a potential disservice. On the other hand, if you come in and just start crowing, if you dress off your accomplishments in a ham-fisted way, if in a nutshell, you arrogantly assume that just because you have X, Y, and Z that you're entitled to the job, then my friend, you're actually more likely to be picked than the first guy. Like, no one wants to hear that, but it's true. In general, it's better to err on the side of being the arrogant douchebag than the humble self-effacer, at least when it comes to the early stages of professional development and sexual relationships with women. But don't get me wrong, I'm not recommending that you become an arrogant douchebag either. It turns out that there is a lot of space between those two extremes. Fortunately, there are more than just these two options. So, how do you handle your wealth and status if you have it? So, what does it mean to have your Porsche in the background? Hot take, but really, rich people aren't sitting on the hoods of their cars and pointing at their ornaments. And they don't do it for the same reason that folks in the middle class aren't trying to flex their Hondas. For both groups of people, it's just their car. That is really, rich people are so used to having a Porsche that it's nothing special. It's just their car. It gets them from point A to point B. It's not their identity. It's not a perpetual subject of conversation. It is not something they devote an inordinate amount of time or attention or energy to. It's their car, okay? Now, the Porsche is a metaphor, guys. If you're fortunate enough to have some of the good things in life, then put them in the background. Like, make sure they're in the background. Had never put them in the foreground. Why? Because putting the good things in the background suggests to anyone with eyes that you're so used to living that kind of life that you feel no particular need to draw attention to that facet of it. And trust me, people will notice that there's a Porsche in the background. You know what I'm saying? Vince Lombardi would tell his players, when you get into the end zone, act like you've been there before. The same thing goes for wealth, status, and lifestyle. Act like you're used to having them, even if you're not yet. This communicates that the end zone is actually where you belong. Okay, so let's say that you followed my advice. You've put your wealth and status in the background, and you've succeeded in attracting a woman or even better women. What do you do now? How do you defend yourself against the bad actors? It's simple. A mentor of mine once told me, I don't give them the money, I just show it to him. And this is the easiest, most straightforward, most foolproof way to defend yourself against gold diggers. Listen carefully. All you have to do is never, ever separate your money from yourself. I'll say it again for the people in the back. Never, ever separate your money from yourself. What does this mean? That means that access to your money must be isomorphic with access to you. Invite her into your frame. While she's there, at your discretion, she will enjoy comfortable travel and delicious foods and extraordinary experiences, the best that life can offer. But as soon as she leaves, she's on her own. You're not buying her gifts. You're not paying her rent. You're not helping out because her cousin suddenly fell ill. Do you understand? That's a use of your money that has nothing to do with you. Even more, it communicates that her life can improve without you, though potentially not without your money. If a woman can extract money without your presence, then you're on the path to dissolution. I mean, that's basically what happens in a divorce, right? You must never allow a woman to separate you from your resources. And trust me, gold diggers will try. That's the sign. That's how they tell on themselves. Gentlemen, they will make increasingly direct requests for money that do not involve your presence. And they will resort to manipulation tactics if you refuse. Damseling for pity, false offense for guilt, ultimata for fear. They'll flip the script and accuse you of being a fuckboy if you don't comply. They'll try to make you think that because you initiated a sexual relationship with them, that they are now entitled to something. In any case, you have to hold firm. If she wants the good stuff, then the requirement is that she has to come to you. No exceptions. You are the sun. If she wants the light and the heat, then she's got to put herself next to you. You don't get that light and that heat at night. You understand? The easiest way to defend yourself against gold diggers is to only share your money, status, and lifestyle with when she's with you doing the things you want and not doing the things you don't want. It's really that simple. If she eventually gives you an ultimatum, let her go. Let her go. That's okay. Why? Because irrespective of her beauty, that was a silly woman. She took a gamble and she was wrong. She was paying her own rent before, and she'll continue to pay her own rent in the future. Her liabilities have not changed. The only thing that's changed is she's now reduced her assets. All those fun weekends and vacations and experiential opportunities, and most importantly, access to a man who could obviously improve her quality of life. She was impatient and she showed herself to be a penny smart but a dollar dumb. So, no great loss there. In any case, that's how you do it, guys. Stay safe and happy hunting. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. Please send this episode to someone who you think might benefit from its content. I know you know a guy who needs to hear this because it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. Be part of the mission, guys. I could use your help here. Before you go, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified when I post new episodes. Let me know where you're watching from so I can appreciate you in my next video. As always, I appreciate your support and thank you for listening.